What is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD interview. So real quick before we jump into this badass, amazing content, I want to give our sponsors a plug that make all this possible. So our first sponsor is www.perfectstormnow.com. Front-end lead generation, real estate specific lead generation software. It's a brilliant branding site, lead generation site. Not only do we provide you an epic, amazing site, we coach you for hours every single month, you guys. We have private mastermind groups where we walk you through and teach you how to be a lead generation machine. So it's not just a website, it's a coaching platform where we teach you how to become a lead generation and a lead conversion to client machine. Our second sponsor is my personal mentorship program, my 90-day mastery bootcamp, right? So recently with the 90-day mastery bootcamp, we have added our alumni program. It's a $50 a month program that you have daily access to me in our own private Facebook group, right? We have 2 monthly live sessions that are 2 hours long every single week. And again, you have daily access to me. We also have 2 live in-person events every 6 months. Every 6 months, we do a live event here in Phoenix Metro. They're 2 days long each event. We don't bring in speakers. There's nothing to sell. It's just hardcore masterminding, 20 hours of just hardcore badass content throughout those sessions. That's $50 a month. But in order to get into that program, you guys, you have to, the initiation fee, if you will, is the 90-day mastery bootcamp. We only want people in that program, real estate agents in that program, that know the process, that are going out there, that are getting results, know the process. So for the first time ever, we're allowing on our 90-day mastery bootcamp, splitting up into 3 payments. That program is $997. We're splitting up into 3 payments with no finance fee. So www.90daymastery.com. Promo code Live Mastery. There's only a few events left this year. If you have any questions about that event, shoot me an email, joshua@gsdmode.com. Also, make sure to jump into the private Facebook group. We just created a GSD Mode private Facebook group. It's a free group. So it's a place to make sure that you guys aren't missing out on any content. Also, a great place for you to mastermind and hang out with and be around other like-minded people. So anyway, you guys, thank you so much for watching, and let's jump on into the show. What is up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD interview. Every single week, we interview top entrepreneurs and just straight up top badasses, you guys, out there dominating their space. These are people that are choosing to not live a life of mediocrity, but instead to go out there and do big things with the world, create massive opportunities for themselves and their families. And today, you guys, I've got an amazing guest on the show, entrepreneur, real estate agent, mega agent. This guy, his company, his team that he's works with was just voted 5th in the whole entire country through Real Trends, Wall Street Journal. So these guys are doing some massive, massive things. So really stoked and honored to have Andy Green on the show. Welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you much. I appreciate being on for sure.
Yeah, man, badass, dude. So I know you got a lot going on today, man. I mean, you're a real estate agent. You've got a very successful real estate team, business up in Portland, Oregon. But before we dive into what you're doing today, dude, I'm always interested for our guests of what the journey was that got you started entrepreneurship in the first place. Like, rewind the clocks, dude. Whether it's, sometimes it's like junior high, high school, college. Like, at what point did you decide to make that transition to entrepreneurship and know it was for you?
Yeah, sure. So I knew from a really early age that I was going to be in the real estate business. I grew up in the industry. My dad was a builder in Boise, Idaho. My stepdad moved to Oregon in 1991, building and developing large master plan communities. So I grew up around the business. I grew up doing open houses, grand openings. I've done anything and everything you can think of in the business. I started just as a grunt laborer. Worked in the accounting department, moved into sales in 99 for my family's company, and was in new home sales for about 6.5 years. Just got some phenomenal training, had some great mentors in my life, taught me some sales skills that I still use to this day. But quite honestly, I just outgrew that business. That model had a ceiling, and just that entrepreneurial spirit in me wanted to break through it. So I had to figure out how to do that. And honestly, I had a lot of failures along the way, and fortunately, I took those failures and learned a lot of lessons through those experiences, and moved into the resale real estate business it was about 2004. right about when the market was crashing in Boise, Idaho. So have had just a really, up and down journey throughout probably like the next 6-7 years, and finally it just clicked in about 2011, and restarted my company in 2011. We've doubled our business every year since then. I've since moved out of production, so I don't sell real estate anymore. I have a team of agents that are highly productive, just a great group of people. Have a team leader in that location who leads that team. Just opened a second location in a market about 45 minutes away from me. I'm a part of the Five Doors Network, where our mission is truly to build generational wealth for not only our clients, but for the people that we're in business with. And you talked about opportunity in your intro there, and it's like that's what we do. We provide opportunity for agents to become their best self, and give them opportunities to grow and progress in this business, and just be around the biggest thinkers in the real estate industry, which has been a lot of fun. So that's a very short version of my history, and it's been very challenging. A lot of blood, sweat, tears, and learned a lot through the process, and feel like I came out the other end a better leader, and am able to lead people at a higher level. So it's cool. It's cool.
Yeah, no, I love it, man. That's awesome, dude. So a lot of follow-up questions there, right? So 2004 to 2011, you're struggling, and the stat out there is 90% of real estate agents fell in the first 3 years. So you were struggling, but you were able to hang on enough, right? Like, what were those like? Like, what do you feel was the struggle, and how did you, I know you were struggling, but you're still doing some things that were able to keep you in the industry where you weren't a statistic, and that was a tough time, dude. Yeah, I mean, that was like Great Depression times for the real estate industry.
Big time.
What were you doing at that point to at least create enough success where you didn't become a statistic and just, career ending?
Yeah. So quite honestly, I wasn't strong enough. I wasn't smart enough to really survive that market on my own. Didn't have the leadership abilities, didn't have the skills, didn't have the mindset to do it. And so what I did is my family recruited me back into the family business. And that's when I moved from Boise, Idaho, to Portland, Oregon. I ran the sales and marketing for that development. It was a really big development. We were releasing luxury row homes, townhomes, and condominiums. And we launched those products in July of 2008. And guess what happened in July of 2008 in Portland, Oregon?
Boom, crash.
So I got to start all over again. And I started a small boutique brokerage, and I started to figure it out. I really did. And I think the last month that was a part of that brokerage, it was a brokerage of me. So it's just me independent. I want to say I closed 7 transactions that month, and one of those transactions was with one of the top agents in my marketplace, and he recruited me onto his team to grow into a position to help him lead his team. I did that for about a year, and the opportunity, it didn't end up being what it was initially intended to be, and we parted ways on great terms. Good friend of mine, and I learned so much through that experience that I figured out how to generate leads at a high level. I saw what leadership looked like. I saw what it took to sell 100 homes in a year, and so when I started it was about March of 2011. When I left his team, I hit the ground running, and I closed 27 homes my first year, and that was me solo. I hired my first assistant at about month 8 or 9, right around there. Hired a full-time marketing person for my team at about 12 months to maybe 14, somewhere in that ballpark. So I had 2 admin. It was me. We generated about 41 sales the next year. I started leveraging through buyers. I hired 2 buyers agents. We jumped to 74 transactions, and went to an event in Austin, Texas, and with one intention in mind, was to figure out how the ISA world was working. I knew that I wanted to do it, and ISA is an inside sales agent, so it's agents that are just specifically calling to generate business. And I went out and I got around Lance Loken, I got around Tim Heil, I toured their offices, I talked to their leaders. Just pick their brains to the point where I came back and I implemented that one thing. I hired 2 ISAs. We doubled our production from 74 to about 144 transactions the next year. And that's when 5 Doors, the expansion team, came into my life, and Seth Campbell, who's a huge mentor of mine, and just really raised my leadership lid, and gave me opportunity to think bigger. I thought big before I met him. And it's like it took it to a totally different level. So overnight, my circles went from me and my team, and few good teams in my local marketplace, to industry leaders. And that was like the transition that I was looking for, because I was always looking for something different. I didn't love selling real estate. I've never loved going on listing appointments. I quite honestly had never loved working with buyers. So I was figuring out a way to get out of production as quickly as possible and build a big business, and plugging into their thinking and their systems and models. We call them systems of success, and it allowed me to really be in my strength zone and do what I love doing best, which is pouring into agents, helping them accomplish their goals, their dreams, and really leading leaders to become leaders of leaders. So that's all I do at this point. Is I'm a Maps Mastery coach with Keller Williams, so I coach MIG agents. I recruit high-level talent onto my team. I teach them how to recruit talent onto their own team. I help them build a big life in a big world.
Love it, man. So when you originally joined 5 Doors, and I apologize up front if I misheard this, but were you back in Idaho at that point, and then from there hired the right people, and then transitioned back into Portland again? Because I know you got a team there, and you got a team in both spots, correct?
Yeah. Well, my business in Boise, Idaho failed. So okay. I failed miserably, and at that point, I'd mentioned I wasn't strong enough or smart enough, and it's quite honestly the truth. And at that point, it was a real struggle. And I thought about getting out of real estate at that point. I was being recruited by an insurance agency. Thought about becoming a firefighter. Always loved working with my hands and just being outside. And so I thought about doing that. I love helping people. I have a heart to help people. In the end, real estate was in my blood. I couldn't get it out, and so I kept going down that path. So when I failed in Boise, I was recruited by my family to come over to Oregon, and that's when I moved back to Oregon in 2008, and basically just started all over again.
Yeah. So you talked about, so when you went out there and you decided to go, you went to Mega Camp and went out there with that one intention of learning the ISA model, right? Because, yep. A lot of people talk about the ISAs, and I truly think that it's an amazing model, but you've got to be delicate with it and do it right, right? So what did you do? Okay, you went and learned there. How did you create success with that? Because we see so many people do it wrong, or they're hiring somebody in the Philippines to do it, or whatever it may be, yeah. And they're like on their 5th ISA, and they're like, screw it. Doesn't mean the model doesn't work. Maybe they just didn't know how to work the model.
Yep. So I can tell you exactly what I did, because it's pretty simple. I've always looked for high-level talent, and that's what I did. And a big shout out to Mr. Benjamin Pickthorn. He leads the ISA division for all of 5 Doors. So he's running a team of ISAs who are calling and generating business and opportunities for agents in states all across the nation at this point. So that's what I did. Is I went out and I didn't find just an ISA, somebody that I could plug in and teach them how to prospect and generate business. I found a leader who wanted a bigger opportunity, and I painted the vision for him from day one, that you're going to own this division, and I'm not going to have all the answers for you. I'm going to teach you what I know, and I'm going to plug you into other systems for great prospectors that I've just paid attention to over the years. And he honestly ran with it. So it was really just finding that one leader that could build and grow that division for me. That's all I did. And props to Ben. He's one of the best dudes I know. He has a heart like no other. He wants to help people. And he's just smooth like butter. He is good at what he does. That is for sure.
Yeah, love it, man. And I don't know if you're comfortable with disclosing compensation models of what you do, or just give our listeners, if you're not comfortable disclosing your personal one, what does that look like to give people an idea of what kind of standard may be?
Yeah, it's pretty easy, and I think we're pretty consistent with most people I see around the nation. When I started, what I did was $2,000 salary and 5% of the commission. Our price point in this market is at that time it was about 320. Now it's probably about 340, 350. And so I felt that would give him an opportunity to get his foot in the door, to learn the systems and models, to build, and then from there build bigger opportunities after we got started. So it's simple, $2,000 salary, 5% commission. In lower price point markets, I've seen people do 10% because you have to give them an opportunity to make a living and pay their bills and ideally save. So that was it. From there, he's moved into a leadership position. He's still in production, and he's leading that division, and he'll get an override on everything that everybody else does.
Yep, awesome, man, love it, dude. So, okay, so let's talk about then what your overall team structure looks like today, right? So I know you stepped out of production. Well, before we get into your team structure today, because one thing I guess let me kind of back up there that I'm interested in. A lot of team leaders get to the point where they want to step out of production, but man, they're still personally 50-60% of the production of their company, and they don't know how to exit it. And we see people that do it, they have to retract and then go back to it and take that step back. I mean, so how were you successful with it first, and then we'll kind of transition to what your team looks like today.
Yeah, I wasn't that successful at first. So I talk about a lot of failures. I'm just like everybody else out there that has that want in their life and works on getting out. And I figured out very quickly how to break through the barrier of not figuring out. So what I did is I had a lead listing agent who I turned into the team leader for that location, and then I had buyer's agents. So I moved out of production in July. She moved into listings and did a really good job. And in the end, that team leader and myself and the vision for the company, we just weren't in alignment. So when you're not in alignment, it slows the whole company down, right? So we ended up parting ways. And at that point, and that was after about 5 months of me being out of production, I was faced with the decision: do I move back into production, or do I restructure the team? And it was an easy decision for me because I was not going to go back into production. I restructured my team to not have listing agents and buyer's agents because I had a hole in the listing side of the business. All of our agents, we just teach them to be great agents, focus on seller listings, prospect for seller listings, and really have the opportunity to build a business within our business. And we give them all the tools and skills to do that. And it was painful. The first 3 months, we went from taking 8 to 10 listings per month to 1 the next month. We took 1 listing the first month, we took 2 listings the second month, and the third month we took 8. So it took me 90 days of increasing our agent's skill level and teaching them how to become a listing agent. And honestly, it's like some have gravitated more towards the listing side, and some will still gravitate towards the buyer side of the business, whether it's comfort level or skills, whatever it is. It's just a reality. And we haven't looked back ever since. And with our expansion model and me opening multiple locations in other areas, it's like I don't want to get to the point where I have 10 to 15 locations and I have listing agents and buyer's agents and go through that same problem times 4 or times 5, because it's just a reality. It's like sometimes, people have a different vision for their life than the company does. And it's not good. It's not bad. It's just different. And I don't want to get in a position where it's like the team completely falls apart because we don't have a listing agent. So like I said, we just teach agents to be great agents. We pour into them, make them the best that they can be, and it's really working well for us now. And I'll never have to go into production ever again because I'm hiring leaders that are leading those agents to be great, productive agents.
Yeah, I love it, man. So, what I see a lot of times happen when team leaders are trying to make that transition, become a true CEO, if you will, of their team. Because we're very optimistic people when we get in the
Yes,
real
we
estate
are.
space, right? So
Yeah.
they're like, okay, well, if I jump out of production, then I can get all my agents' production up, right? And they don't time it right. They don't make sure that maybe the income from their team is covering their expenses. I mean, do you when is it fiscally responsible for a team leader to fully step out? Like, what are some of those financial indicators that they need to see consistently for some time before they know it's the right time?
Well, the way that we have it structured right now is our team leaders are in production, so they're leading on the front line, and they're leading by example, because you can't have a leader in an organization expect other people to not do what they're willing to do initially. You can grow to the point where you've proven that you have that agent's best intentions and their success in mind, and get to a certain indicator. I would really focus on listings, and I'm having this conversation with a team leader in one of my locations right now, that once we get to a certain number of seller listings without his production in there, then it's time to have a conversation around how can we make that work, because our business revolves around seller listings, and if that number is not there, then he's going to be in production until it is. So he owns that, and he has motivation if he's interested in other opportunities, bigger opportunities, move out of production. And it just so happens that my team leader is a certified one thing trainer. He loves pouring into people. He loves training, loves coaching. So we can give them an opportunity to coach and train on a really big level by leveraging the platform that we have and the amount of agents that we have in the Five Doors network.
Gotcha, man. Okay, so as far as going back to you personally, man, because I mean, you're definitely a dude that's really striving to always level up, right? Like you can tell, because you could easily get to a point where hey man, things are pretty damn good. Let me just kind of coast, man. We, have overcome a lot of obstacles. Let me just kind of, enjoy this moment. But you sound like a dude that's still just always striving for more and aren't accepting good enough, right? What do you do personally to make sure that you are not allowing yourself to get good or not accepting good enough and continuing to strive for greatness personally?
Yeah, well, good is the enemy of great, right?
Yep.
And you're exactly right. It's like I don't ever want to, just settle for the status quo, be average. And quite honestly, in various roles, I have been average, and typically it's been because I've tried taking on too many roles all at once, rather than focusing on one role and just kicking ass and being great at that one role. So you asked that question. I really think back to when I joined the Five Doors Network, because I had a good business, and I could have just moved out of production. I could have found a leader for that location, and I could have just gone golfing or sat on a beach somewhere, because I don't have a job anymore. I'm a business owner, and the only income that I get is business income. So that income comes in whether I'm there or not. But you're right. It's like I don't want to settle for that. And what's helped to keep me on track is surrounding myself with the same people, with people that have the same heart that I have, that want to help people at a really high level, give them really big opportunities, and they have to earn it. So we're not giving anybody opportunity. They're earning opportunities to take their career to whatever level within our team. So I surround myself with people that have the same heart, and also have just the same mindset and think bigger. So like Seth and Reed Moore and Devin and Jeff, they're the initial founders of the Five Doors Network. They're four of the top agents and top thinkers in this industry. They're constantly stretching me, who's already a pretty big thinker, to think even bigger and to think scalability. And how can we do this, on a bigger level, and help more people, and help to really truly not just talk about generational wealth for the people that we're in business with, but to live it. Because at the end of the day, if we're the number one team in the United States, which I believe is just inevitable, and it's going to be in the very near future, we it doesn't even matter to us because we're not in it for the status or the accolades. We're truly in it for the mission of creating generational wealth. So if we don't do that for the people that we're in business with, we failed, right?
Yeah, love it, man. So those that maybe are listening that aren't familiar with Five Doors, because I mean, it can again, somebody that's not familiar with the model, it can be kind of confusing, right? Because it's like, okay, man, I got Keller Williams, I got Five Doors, and we have teams within this, and then teams within teams, and you're like, what the hell, dude? Right? Like just break it down, dude. Like what is it? How does it operate? Just to give those that aren't familiar with it an idea.
Well, to make it as simple as I can, I would say that we're just a really big team. We've got multiple locations around the U.S. and what we do is being a part of Keller Williams Realty. Keller Williams has approximately 700 locations around the U.S. So they've got brick and mortar locations, they've got staff, they've got the infrastructure, and all we have to do is we have to go into each one of those market centers and find one talented individual that wants to think bigger, wants to plug into proven systems of success, and we help them. We take their admin off their plate because that's one of the biggest struggles with real estate agents who are trying to build a team. And I can tell you from experience because I had 4 executive assistants in 4 years, and learning through that process, it's not easy. It's painful, and it's just not my strength zone. I don't know enough about admin and paperwork, and I don't want to get involved in it. So you have to find a really strong leader that can take the ball and run with it. And that person, for me, was really hard to find. So by plugging into the Five Doors network, we take the admin off. We have a full team of transaction coordinators and listing managers that are located in Idaho. They manage all of our transactions across the nation. We handle all of the marketing. So we help the agent to really build their database, to pour into their database, to follow up with their database, create more business for themselves there. And that's another hole that I see with real estate agents, is they might have a strong network, but they never put their database together, and then they don't systematically communicate with it on a regular basis. So they might have a level of success, but what's the level of success that they could have if they had that in place? So we put that in place for them. And then we have operations. So we have operations, we have admin, transaction coordination, listing management, we have marketing in place. So a lot of agents don't want to mess with all that stuff. What they want to do is they want to be in a relationship with more people. They want to help more people accomplish their goal of buying and selling real estate. And they want to plug into proven systems to help them sell more with us than they could without us. Because honestly, we're not looking for average agents. We want talented agents that could do it without us. And we found that the talented agents and people that we bring into business with us do have that same heart. They have the same work ethic, and they want the bigger opportunity, and they can plug into our systems, and they can do far more with us than without us, much faster.
Yeah, I think that most don't really truly understand or account for the true costs, the risk that's associated with, and the hours that it takes to put all that stuff in place and train all those people. And it's a lot, right? So essentially it's like a virtual team. Like, hey, I'm in Phoenix, Arizona. Maybe I don't have a team out here that I really want to create, but I love Five Doors. I mean, I can come out here and get your guys' system and admin and be able to join your team in virtual locations.
To a certain extent, yes. And okay. we actually have a team in Phoenix, Raquel Quinnett.
And we had her on the show. Yeah, she's good.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, she's a good friend of mine. Really good friend of mine.
What's up, Raquel? Hope you're watching. Yeah, I love her too. She's awesome, and she's always pushing me on the talent side of the business because she used to be a team leader for Keller Williams office and understands recruiting and people on a really high level. So she's always pushing me to do better, and love being in business with her. So yeah, I mean that is virtually it. So we just plug them into our systems of success, and we hold them accountable to those things. And how we do that is we have very intentional, specific conversations with them every single week to hold them accountable to the activities that we know are going to help them accomplish their goals and generate more business and more income for themselves.
Yep. Love it, man. So, because a lot of people, when they're thinking about it, I mean, most agents out there don't join teams, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which they should, but they just see this, oh, I gotta give up this percentage of commission, and then they can never really get that traction, and they end up failing and whatever. So how do you guys counteract that? Because you got, let's say I'm an agent that wants to join Raquel's team here in Phoenix, right? So because I go to Raquel and I'm like, okay, I want to join your team, but we've got to then pay KW, X percentage, and then Raquel's probably got a little bit, Five Doors has a little bit, and I mean, you and I know the value that exists, right? You're giving a proven model. Like if they just do the work, they're going to succeed. But how do you counteract that for somebody that maybe is listening to this, being like, well, man, I know I probably need it, but they just can't get over that mental stigma of, the commission split.
Yeah. Well, quite honestly, some people aren't a fit to be on a team. They are very independent. They want to do their own thing. And it's like, as a coach, I see that group of people get in their way of like really achieving their true potential all the time. And that's okay. We don't want to be in business with everybody. So that group of people, no problems. Like we'll high five them. And if we can help them increase their business, just through a mastermind or osmosis or whatever, then we're always game to do that. But what we'll do is we just talk about, I don't ever want to talk about commission splits. That's it. And the agents that do want to just pound commission splits, they're just not a fit. And that's okay. There's no right and there's no wrong. The people that want a bigger opportunity and to succeed at a high level, they'll typically rise to the top. And they'll see the value in what we can create. And I've taken agents from 5 sales in a year and a half to 41 sales in their first year in the business. And that's not because I have some, mysterious algorithm that I plug them into. It's like, we just focus on the basics. We focus on contacts, appointments, seller listings, closings, and GCI. I find out what they want to make. And if I feel that I can help them accomplish their goal of, X amount of net income in their pocket, then I'm gonna feel like we're a match. And if they see the value in it and they have belief that I actually can help them, or Raquel can help them, or any one of our team leaders, then we're probably going to continue down that path. And if they don't, no problem. We'll still love them.
Yeah, absolutely love it, man. So then this question, and I have this question a lot with a lot of team leaders, right? Because the expansion thing, we're seeing a lot of it, especially in the Keller Williams world, right? And then we're seeing even non-KW mega teams starting to do it too. So then the question, it gets to the point where we're always contemplating, well, does it make really sense to expand? Like instead of going and having 5 locations, why not grow your Portland location to 300 million in production, hit a max capacity, and then expand compared to having, all these multiple locations. And like, what's the rhyme to the reason, the benefit of expansion for those that, maybe are on the fence? Because I hear so many team leaders that, have these opportunities, but they just don't know if it's right for them.
Yeah. Well, I think what we're finding through expansion through Keller Williams is that it's not easy to do. It's like boots on the ground. It's really challenging, and you see a lot of great agents that have strong businesses, and they call it the hub. So they have a really strong hub, and then going out to other locations, it's much more challenging to truly generate consistent additional sales in those locations. So their hub is really strong, and they might have one other location that's doing really well. It's just we're not seeing a lot of it. So I think that 5 Doors, we were one of the early adopters of expansion. We have more failures and quite honestly more experience than most of the people that are doing it today. It's like I don't really talk that much about what everybody else is doing in expansion, because what most of them are doing, honestly, it's not working. what we're doing is working at a really high level in a lot of locations, all around the U.S. So typically it's like I'll just focus more on what I can control, and that's opening more locations for 5 doors and plugging them into our systems. And I think what it ultimately comes down to, what might help somebody listening to this out there, is just it's a question of talent, and finding. Well, actually, let's backtrack just for just a second. It's having a big enough mission and vision to attract that higher level talent, and having your world be big enough to fit them inside of it long term. So not just for for a couple months, a year, 2 years. It's like, what's the opportunity for this super talented agent that's selling 36 homes a year, that has a good business. 36 homes a year in our market is a good, solid business. And those are the people that I'm looking to be in business with and attracting, and it's working, and I'm bringing them in. And because we have a big enough mission and a big enough vision to fit their businesses inside of ours and truly help them to become, the best them that they can be. So I don't know if that perfectly answers your question, but that's what comes to my mind.
Yeah, no, I like it. I always tell agents, just keep an open mind to it, right? I mean, like you said, there's people that haven't made it, but there's also models out there like yours and Tim Heil that you mentioned before that are doing really amazing things with it, right? So there are people that are getting it right and it's working, and so just keep an open mind to it for sure. Those of you that have it, maybe it's not right for you right now, but definitely keep an open mind to it, because this is proof right here that it's killing it for some. So when it talks to about, when you think about expanding into other market centers, because I've talked to dudes, they're like, oh, well, I'm here in, I don't know, like Omaha, Nebraska, and then in San Diego. And I'm like, well, for me, and this is where my mind goes. Okay, I'm in Phoenix, Arizona. So if I've proven a model here, I'd want to find another metro center that's somewhat similar across the country that would meet that to maybe expand to. But we're finding a lot of people that have success when their markets are totally different. So when you think about expansion, is it just straight up talent, or have you found different markets that your model works really well in? Is it a combination of both? Like, how do you know when, hey, let's go out there and expand to the next city?
Really for us, it's wherever talent shows up, and that's ultimately where it is. Where we bring people in, especially at that level where we're considering opening into a totally new market across state lines, would be a regional partner opportunity. And so what that looks like is we're modeling our expansion after Keller Williams. So as new as expansion is, Seth is coaching and talking with Gary Keller on a regular basis about what his experience was in growing Keller Williams Realty International. And all of our systems and models are based around those. So we're able to cut the learning curve, dramatically by plugging in and following proven systems in a very similar type business. Because it's not exact, the brokerage model and the team model. It's pretty close. So that regional partner opportunity gives a team, and typically it's going to be a team that's doing $30-40 million in production. And it's somebody like me, because you think about how they attracted me to the business. I did $44 million in production last year, 144 sales, and things were going awesome. It's like, I'm totally happy doing what I'm doing. Is there are a lot of agents and leaders of teams out there that are just not happy in their role. It's like they want more, and they might understand expansion and have attempted it and hit a ceiling somewhere along the line. And we can just increase the probabilities that team is going to be able to plug into our systems and our leadership and our coaching, which we have leadership meetings every single week through Google Hangouts. So it's like we're getting together every week and talking about what our standards are, where each one of the teams are, talking about leadership, talking about breaking through barriers, and that's attractive to those agents that are doing 30 to 40 million in production that want a bigger life. And when you start getting into 10, 15, 20 locations, we're talking about a bigger life. And that's not me leading 100 agents. That's me leading one regional partner that I've hopefully molded throughout the years and given them bigger leadership opportunities, and they've risen through the ranks and proved themselves, and they've moved from agent to team leader to regional partner to regional director, and if they've proven themselves at each one of those levels, then I can promise you that Five Doors is going to give them an opportunity to own their own region and duplicate their success where they have ownership in it, which, we're talking about opportunity, and I don't know of another organization that has that type of opportunity. It's probably out there, I just don't know about it.
All right, so the next question I have for you, man, is it's 2016, right? You and I both got in the market a long time ago, right? I got in 2005, and a lot's happened in the last decade or so, and continues to transition and happen. What are some of the directions that you're seeing right now? Like I heard a quote out there from Gary Vaynerchuk that he has a prediction that Walmart will be out of business in 15 years. Because of Amazon. Like, they have too much bricks and mortar. They can't compete. I mean, Amazon's now like flying groceries to you with drones, crazy stuff, right? So, and real estate happens to be one of those dinosaur industries, and you guys are pushing a high level in a lot of different markets. Like, what do you feel personally that if real estate agents don't wake up to right now and start making this shift and transition, that they're probably going to become extinct at some point in the near future?
Yeah, well, I think that we're entering a shift in the market right now. Real estate goes in cycles, and it goes up, it evens out, and it goes down. And we've been going up for a long time right now. So we're seeing a lot of indicators that the market's beginning to shift in a lot of different markets around the nation. And a lot of agents are still coming into the business, and we're probably going to see that for the next 9 to 10 months or so. And I think that we're going to see a large number of agents move out of the business. So if there's one thing that I think is really going to help agents survive in the upcoming decade, it's going to be by focusing on 5 simple things. And that means focusing on script practice and role play, lead generation, lead follow-up, negotiating contracts, and going on appointments. And too many agents focus on the 80% of the activities that don't generate the 20% of results that will help them make money and to have a true career in real estate. I coach a lot of agents that just struggle with that. So if there's one thing that can help more people in this industry, it's like write those 5 things down and stick them up on a board in front of your face. And everything that you do throughout the day, if you're not doing one of those 5 things, or if you haven't done them yet up to a certain point, then go back and do that. And then once you're done with those things, then you can go do the 80% of the activities that it's just a reality in this business. So yeah, I mean, I see it getting harder for agents out in the marketplace. But as far as like where the industry's going and what the next trend might be, I'm just not really sure.
Yeah.
Well,
you don't think it's gonna like Pokemon Go is gonna take over?
Oh my God, I went on a business trip and came back, and it's like everybody's walking around my town like zombies with their staring at their phones. It was the weirdest freaking thing. No, I don't think that that's going to happen. I think that that there's a real need and there's a place for real estate agents in this business, and it's the agents that are able to focus on the right activities and have the right customer service focus that are going to survive in this business. So the numbers will always fluctuate. I think we're about to go through a period here in the next year where a lot of agents are going to realize how hard this business is, because it's simple, because there is a proven game plan, and it's not easy to execute and do those activities that will make a difference in their lives.
Yeah, one thing that you said there, I mean, I couldn't agree more with everything that you said, but one thing that I really loved that you said was practicing. You know, it seems like most people that jump in this job, and not just real estate, but all professions. You know, your average college student reads one book after college graduation for the rest of their damn life. And I don't know if you, I had a guest on not too long ago, Rock Thomas, and he's partners, has an event out there with Pat Hyben, where they go out there and they to get into their program, you gotta be making $1 million a year. So they only coach $1 million. So like basically, like if your net worth is between 1 and 5 million, you're coached and mentored by somebody that's making 6 to 10 million. So you're always being mentored by that next level person. So I asked him, but you have to be making $1 million a year, like net tax returns to even get accepted in the program. I asked him, I said, what's the difference, dude? What's the difference between that million year, 7-figure a year earner, or maybe the extremely talented, full of potential, you know, guy or girl that's making 300 grand? And he's like, look, what they do during the day, their talent, their potential, what they do between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. or whatever is the same. He goes, millionaires and 7-figure earners, it's what they do after 8 p.m. and what they do before 8 a.m. that makes the difference. You know, and that's when they're focused on mastery, like you said, with those scripts and that role play and that practice. You don't have to take a freaking decade to become a badass listing agent. If you practice your listing presentation for 3 hours every night, you're going to become dope pretty damn quick.
Yep. You are, and I mean, you look at like professional athletes, and it's really easy to make this comparison, and it's real. I mean, it's real life. They practice their asses off to become the best at their position in that industry, and without the practice, they're not going to make the team. So it truly is focusing on those 5 things, and it starts with script practice and role play. And just people aren't willing to do it. They, like I said earlier, they just get in their own way, and that's it. And you know, that's where when I'm coaching an agent, it's like I'm straight up with them. You're going to have to get out of your own way in order to have success in this business. And some get it, and some don't. And sometimes it's just process. You know, take some time and some failures. And if they only listen to that piece of advice and do those 5 things every day, be consistent. Well, 5 days a week. I want people to, you know, have a life and take time off and vacations too. But focus on those things, then they're gonna have a business worth owning. They truly are.
Yeah. So with yourself personally, and then obviously your teammates and coaching clients, right? Like, dude, there's a lot of days that we wake up and we're like, man, I don't feel like it. I feel depressed. I don't want to do this shit. You know, right? Like, it happens all the time. Like, how do you keep yourself focused? Because I think one of these myths is, oh, well, uber successful people, you know, like Andy, they just love doing this stuff. Well, a lot of times we hate doing this stuff too. We just choose to do it. How do you keep yourself focused, motivated, and driven even when you're beaten down, depressed, and don't feel like doing it?
Yeah, I mean, the first example that comes to mind is last week I was at this place called Top Golf. It's a driving range, and they make it competitive and a lot of fun. It's a cool place. First time I've ever been there. And I didn't warm up, and I started hitting balls, and I tweaked my lower back. And for the past week, I've been in this funk, like, oh my gosh, I'm not going to be able to do this race. I'm supposed to do hood to coast in the next 2 days, and I can't do it because of my back. So it's like, yeah, I'm no different than anybody else. And what I do is I surround myself with people that hold me accountable to doing what I say I'm going to do. And that's where coaching comes in. So I have a coach in real estate, in my spiritual and personal life, fitness, and I just added a financial coach, which was a missing piece in my life. So I really feel like having somebody that's not your friend, not necessarily like in your circle, finding somebody that is truly a good coach and will partner alongside with you to help increase the probabilities that you're going to get through those days. And you're going to be able to focus on the life that you want to have and not get stuck in the minute details that we all get stuck in. There's a book called 4 Disciplines of Execution. Yeah. I always do this. It's either 4 Disciplines of Execution or 5. and they call it the whirlwind. It's so easy to get just sucked in and caught in that whirlwind and like bounce from place to place. And when you have a coach in your life that you're checking in with once a week or more or a little bit less, who knows, it's gonna get you through those times. So if there's anything else, it's get a coach. And I'd say also live a well-balanced life. As I was building the business, I struggled with my health and my weight, and quite honestly, it's like I felt like crap. Some of those days are a lot harder to get through when you're struggling and you don't feel good about yourself. So over the past year, it's funny, I ran into a friend of mine at Mega Camp who started doing triathlons and Ironmans. And I saw the transition that he made in his just physical health. And I ran into him, I'm like, dude, what do you do to get in such great shape like that? And he looked at me and he said, get a coach. And I think he walked away. And it's like, duh, I know this.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just have to go through your own process to truly figure it out. So it took me about 3 months of like that rolling around in my brain. And I went out and I got a personal trainer, and a year later, it's like I've made huge strides. I feel so much better. And those days that are just tough that we all have, they're so much easier when you feel better about yourself and you're, you just have a different perspective.
Yep, love it, man, love it. So you've dropped a few books thus far, and 4DX, 4 Disciplines of Execution is a must read, man. As far as getting your matrix together and your lead measures, key indicators, and actually a really good friend of mine who's also a Keller Williams. Keller Williams is like taking over the world, dude. I always sit there, I'm like,
we're doing pretty good.
Break it down, I mean, most of our guests KW, most of my good buddies are, so Kenny Klaus, I don't know if you know Kenny out here in Phoenix, but really good friend of mine, and he owns multiple restaurants too, and ran one of his restaurants, and he recommended that book, and dude, like I had to lock myself in the room for like 3 days. I was like, holy shit, man. It just took tracking and metrics and those key indicators a whole nother level, so love
crazy
it, man.
Crazy good.
What are some of your other, I know this is a tough question. There's so many amazing books, but what are some of your other top reads that you would recommend to our listeners that have had a huge impact on your business and life?
I think back to the very first business book that I read a long time ago, and it was The Magic of Thinking Big. Or no, it was Think and Grow Rich.
Yeah.
Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. It like really made an imprint on my life, and I've gone back to it and read it over the years. But that was the first one that made a major impact in my life, and also got me hooked on reading. You have the saying, leaders are readers. It's absolutely true. The more I read and learn and am able to execute and to incorporate into my life, the better leader I am, and the better example that I'm setting for the leaders in my life. I do a lot of Audible as well, which is kind of a time saver. I can stick it on like 2 to 3 times, and I still retain, I feel like the same amount of information. So I would say Think and Grow Rich was one. 5 Dysfunctions of a Team has really helped me to understand leadership in like a team concept and fighting through the dysfunctions that every team has, and being able to address conflict and not be afraid of it, because a lot of times like stuff goes on our teams and nobody talks about it, and I didn't talk about it, so it's like I was there, and it's like maybe it'll just go away, or maybe I'll just push him a little bit harder, or do what I can to help him or her. And in reality, it's like everybody on the team feels that, and they know something's going on, and it creates dysfunction. And when you can bring up that conflict and be open and honest with everybody, it's like, hey, I know something's going on here, and it's like let's bring it out, because we all none of us are perfect, and we all want to be the best person and real estate agent we can be. So let's talk about it. Let's work through it and have healthy discussion around it. That made a really big impact on my life. And one of my business partners and good friends, Reed Moore, who I respect immensely, he is like the guru of 5 Dysfunctions of a Team. So I'm always learning from him how to be a better leader. So appreciate that about him. those are probably the two that come to mind right now. Fanatical prospecting was a really big one as far as being able to generate new business, especially in the real estate field. But in addition, kind of along the same lines as reading, what I've done that I think has really propelled me to different levels of and higher levels of success is going to the trainings, to masterminds, to mega camp, to family reunion, and get around people and establish relationships with other top leaders in this business. And that's something that I've always done. Whenever I go to those events, I'm always intentional about finding somebody that I want to be like. I want to have a business like theirs. I want to learn something from them. And it's like, just make friends. And I have so many friends, good friends, that over the years from going to these events that we've created stronger and stronger relationships. And they're all over the nation. So it's like I can call people from almost anywhere with any problem that I have and find somebody that can have a solution. So going to those events has made a huge impact in my life. And sometimes, people just don't think that they have the money to do it. I think that you can't afford not to. Because it like reframes your mindset and gets you back into a position where you're excited about your business, you're excited about your life, and don't get overwhelmed by the whirlwind, and take one thing away from that. What's the most impactful thing that I can take away from that conference, that talk, that training, and implement that one thing in my business rather than put the book up on the shelf and have a good feeling going away from it, feel like you learned something. But it's different when you have a level of implementation and you focus on implementing that one thing that will make the biggest difference in your business. So that's it.
Yep, I love it, man. Powerful, dude. So I'm a guy like you. I'm a big reader, but I hate reading books. I love to listen, right? Because when I'm driving in the car, when I'm at the gym, same thing, like the 2x speed, dude. But the hard part is, just warning, those guests, is you get so used to the fast talking. It's like when I'm having conversations like with my wife or like then I'm like, okay, hurry it up, dude. You get so used to it, right? So that's like the one negative side effect, man. I love it, dude. So okay, man. So you're coaching a lot of agents, So not counting your teammates, because you guys really have a plug and play model where it's like, dude, you guys just do this, you're going to be successful. With your coaching clients, though, because they don't have all the systems in place, and they might be running their own systems, but they're reaching out to you to help them build their systems, right? So what would you say, like maybe the top three biggest things that maybe they're mistakes or things that they're missing? Because these are people that are hustlers, right? They want to level up. They're hustlers. They're talented, but it's like, dude, they're just kind of like missing usually a few things that take them to the next level. So what's that, like those three common things that you see over and over and over from agents that's not allowing them to succeed at the level they want?
So what sort of a level of agent are you talking about? Are you talking about like a newer agent that might be doing 10 to 15 deals? Are they doing 30 to 50 as a team? Because my answer would be different for different agents.
Let's just talk about, because I can't remember what I heard the stat, and this was a while ago, but it was something like 93% of agents will never be on a team or never have a team. So, most are individuals. So let's just say maybe it's the individual agent doing some good production, 25, 30 deals or whatever a year, and they want to eventually get to the level where maybe they can start their own team. But just the good individual agent trying to get to the next level.
Okay, got it. So the first thing that I would talk about and focus on are the 3 L's: leads, listings, and leverage. And there probably aren't a whole lot of additional conversations that we'd need to have. So we'd assess, how's their lead generation? How many leads and opportunities do they have coming into their business? Are they seller focused on generating opportunities for seller leads, seller appointments? And if they're nailing those two things, then they're ready for leverage. And an agent that's doing 30, 36 transactions, they should be at the point where if they take all of the admin off of their plate and focus on the leads and listings at a higher level, then they're going to go to 50, 60, 70. There's no doubt in my mind if they're focusing on those things. So then we're having conversations about leverage. And that's the hardest part of this business. And that's where I think most agents, they get to a point where they settle with their level of production, because bringing people into business with you is like a different level, and it's a different challenge, and it's something that you really have to practice and to work through and to master in order to take that next level. And that's where Keller Williams has such a great training curriculum. We're I think last year we were the #1 training organization in the United States, and that's not just in real estate, that's in any industry. So that's where I would plug them into Keller Williams. It's called Recruit Select, and now it's actually transitioned over to hold on, I got a call decline. It's transitioned into career visioning, which they've learned, and they built a really strong foundation with Recruit Select. So it's recruiting agents, selecting agents, getting into action, training, leading them, and motivating them, which was a phenomenal class. And I've been through it, I want to say 5 or 6 times. So you're always learning along the way. So taking a class one time and implementing one thing is great. And then you're going to be in a different place 3-6 months down the road through your experiences. In that same class, you're going to get something else out of it. So Gary Keller talks about going to this class 10 times, like as fast as you can, which I took to heart. And I believe that that's one of the reasons why I was able to build a business the way that I was, because I'm learning based. I enjoy learning. You know, I like reading. I like learning new things. I like getting around people that are doing, bigger and better things. And I go to a lot of classes, and I always learn something from those classes. And so plugging them into a training model that will increase the probabilities of their success and getting them to that success sooner rather than later. That's it. So we're talking about leads, we're talking about listings, and we're talking about mastering leverage and people at a really high level. If you've nailed all 3 of those things, then you have a lot of options.
Yeah. Game over. Love it, man. Yeah, and I've been through Recruit Select. One thing that I love about Gary Keller and Keller Williams is they don't just make it where everything's exclusive. I've my good friend Kevin Kaufman teaches. He's a KW owner out here in Phoenix, and he teaches it locally. And I've taken a class, and you're right, man. It's mind blowing. And yeah, that makes sense. That Gary Keller would say, take a class 10 times. I heard a study not too long ago. I guess it's been 7 years, but NASA says that the average human mind only retains 10% of what you learn the first time around. So I guess it would take 10 times to get 100%, right? I mean, to really master it. So totally lines up.
It's going to be perfect.
Yeah, right? Love it. So when you talk about leads, dude, because a lot of people can generate leads, but they don't know how to follow up and convert them. So when you say master leads, you're not just talking about lead gen. I mean, you're talking about the process, right? Because if I get these leads, dude, if I'm not following up and hitting them and whatever, it's not going to do me any good either.
Yep. Well, one of the things I focus on with, I talked about earlier. I talked about those 5 things. So script practice and role play, lead generate, lead follow up, and what I tell people is the gold is in the follow up. It's like you can spend 2 hours a day, 5 days a week generating new business, new opportunities, scheduling appointments, and creating future opportunities through nurtures and people that might not have raised their hand immediately. And at some point, maybe in the next 12, 24 months, their future business. So making sure that you're following up with those people in a systematic way. I just see that it's like those systems are usually what's broken, and agents just aren't following up with people in a systematic way because they don't have the systems. And it can be super easy. Gary Keller talks about in the Millionaire Real Estate Agent a 33 touch program. So touching people 33 times in a 12-month period. And people go, I just don't know. I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do. Well, it's pretty simple. So what I do is I send 2 videos out to my database per month. So every 2 weeks we send an item of value and or a training or just something along those lines to our database. So that's 24 touches. That's 24 out of the 33. And if you add in, let's just say a quarterly call, you're already almost to 30. So getting to 33, it's like people make it more complicated than it really needs to be. And I use a company called Viral Marketing for our videos. and it's like one of my top employees. That's the way I look at it. I spend $500 a month on that platform, and it's an employee in my company that I take 30 minutes, once a month on shooting those videos, and they do everything else.
Yeah.
So it is literally plug and play. To find an employee that was willing to do all that for $500 is like, you don't find it. So leveraging not only people through people, but through systems. So it's easier than you think it is.
Yep. Love it.
People make it out to be.
Love it, dude. So let's say something happened, bro, and you get wiped out. You lose everything, right? Financially. I mean, your health's good, family's good, but you retained everything that you've learned over all the years, but you're done, 5 doors is done, and you have to rebuild from scratch. So what are the first few things that you'd immediately do, knowing what you know now, to go out there and rebuild this, much quicker than it took you the first time around?
Well, I actually, you paint that picture, and I did that. I did. I mean, so I could just tell you exactly what I did because I did fail, and I did lose everything during the downturn, everything, and I did start over. And so what I did is I focused on lead generation, and all I did really is I followed the Millionaire Real Estate Agent. Because I first saw Gary Keller in 2003, and he was the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book had just come out, and he was doing his book tour, and he came to Boise, Idaho. And so he's talking about promoting the Millionaire Real Estate Agent and teaching agents, how to be a Millionaire Real Estate Agent. And it was probably, I don't even know, a half day or something. And it really stuck with me. It's just, it's like I wasn't in a place where I could actually implement, or wasn't smart enough to implement. I don't know. It was me getting in my own way. So I've talked about that a couple times. Like, I was there too. I got in my own way for a long time. And when I threw my hands up in the air and said, I'm just going to follow proven systems and models through the Millionaire Real Estate Agent, I'm going to focus on leads. And that's what I did when I started all over. I lost everything, started over, and I focused on lead generation. You mentioned Kenny Klaus. He's one of the people that I've always paid attention to, how he generates his business. I've modeled my business in my local market after what he does. And so it's hyper local marketing. It's creating relationships. Our tagline in our local community is creating community. So we're always looking at ways to give back to the community. We just, to give you one example, we just finished at the end of last month. We put on a brew fest every year. So I partnered with a local tap house who has all the brewery connections, all of that stuff, and we started a brew fest last year. We had 750 people come the first year, and this last month we had about 1,500 people come to our second annual Wilsonville Brew Fest. All the proceeds go back to a local charity. Yeah. So we're able to create community by having just a kick-ass party for all of our friends in our local community, be able to give money back to the local community, and it's like it's a win-win all the way around. So it's thinking strategically by creating relationships in one geographic area and just creating more and more leads. It's also been hyper-local marketing through websites. I have several websites that make a lot of money for our business and are very, very productive. We have larger lead generation platforms like Boomtown, where we generate a larger number of leads and with a lower conversion rate. So I have hyper-local websites that generate fewer leads, but our conversion rates like 75% on those. And when we get those leads, the high probability that they're going to be in front of one of our agents in the next day or two, and they're going to find a house, within probably 7 miles of us. So we're leveraging our time as well. So it's really focusing on that lead generation first. If I'm starting all over, it's exactly what I did. I focused on lead generation. I built up enough business, and I set enough money aside to be able to afford the leverage through the transaction coordinator and executive assistant. So I made sure that I had money set aside through the business that could fund 3 to 4 months of that person. And once I got that person in, then I was able to generate even more business because I was able to have more conversations about real estate and generate more leads and more opportunities. So it's like, again, this business is simple. It's just not easy, and it's simple because Gary Keller threw out the blueprint for us.
Yeah.
And when you follow it, success happens. That's it. Success happens.
Yeah, I look at it like for agents that are jumping in today compared to like dudes, you and I, that jumped in this over a decade ago. YouTube didn't exist. There weren't podcasts. Like, we kind of had to figure this shit out. Now people can jump on all day and listen to brilliant dudes like you, and because even if somebody's like, "Wow, I don't really align with what's laid out in the book that Gary Keller wrote." Okay, well, there's 1,000 ways of success. Somebody out there is doing what you want to do or your style, and there's probably a podcast and training on it.
Yep.
And the key, and you hit this on earlier, is don't just take the information, you got to implement on it. So I love that, man.
Yep.
So I started this podcast, dude, because we see today, coaches, trainers, these quote unquote gurus, not in just real estate industry, but all these industries out there that are these, experts. And then you find out, of course, they've never even done it. And there's a lot of smokes and mirrors. I mean, some of them might be brilliant, but there's a lot of smoke and mirrors, and you just never know. So one day I just got to the point where I was just frustrated. I was just done with it. I'm like, well, instead of bitching about it, let me do something about it. So I'm like, let me go out there and create this free podcast, free medium, put it out there for real estate agents and entrepreneurs to come out there and listen to, interviewing doers like yourself, dudes that are in the trenches, no fluff, no smoke and mirrors, like dudes that are actually out there today building uber successful businesses. So with that being said, man, I mean, our listeners are listening right now because they want to do what you've done. Right? They want to go out there and create the epic life they know they want and deserve, and that's why they're here. So with that being said, man, any last pieces of words, advice, inspiration they'd like to leave them with to go out there and create the life that, again, they know they want and they absolutely deserve?
Yeah. So it goes back to focusing on those 5 things that we talked about earlier. So like if I have any simple wisdom that I can give to agents out there, it's like, just focus on those 5 things. Don't overcomplicate it. Don't overthink it. Focus on those 5 things. Script practice and role play first thing in the morning. Then jump into lead generation. Then make sure that you're following up with the leads that you've been generating over time. Time block time for negotiating contracts so you can move your transactions forward, one step at a time so you can get paid and help those people accomplish their goals. And then time block for appointments. You do those 5 things, you're going to kick ass in this business. And that's it. And some people, it's like, if there are listeners out there that are just struggling with doing that on their own, then I'd say, find a team in your local marketplace or reach out to us, because we're getting to the point where we have locations, all over the U.S. and we have big opportunities. So we're always open, and we love talking with people about opportunities, and all it is a conversation. That's all it is. We're providing them with the information to make an educated decision on what's best for them and their family. So if there's like any sort of interest level in or curiosity in just what we're doing in order to have the massive success that we're having, and what's the heart behind it, and who are the people that are involved, like I would just shoot us an email, look us up on Facebook. Give us a call, whatever. But we're always open to those conversations about talking about big opportunities in this business, because we've got them.
Yeah, and what I'll do, man, if you can privately just shoot me all the links to connect with you guys. So those of you watching and listening, we'll make it easy. The links will be right below. You can click right on them. Connect with Andy and all the mediums. Check out their website, Facebook, all that fun stuff. So love it, man. I mean, this has been an epic podcast, man. You dropped a lot of knowledge and a lot of amazing information. We really appreciate it. To our listeners, I know in every podcast with this, you guys, but information without implementation is truly just the start of delusion. Information is not power. It's taking that information, going out there and taking action on it that creates power in your world. So take something that Andy shared with you today. He shared a lot of knowledge, you guys. Take something he shared with you today. Go out there, take action right now so you can start creating the life that you know you want and deserve. And Andy, man, this has been an epic time, brother.
Love it.
Man, I know you're busy as hell. I appreciate you taking time to be here, man. It means a lot. And, again, man, it was an honor.